What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma if you're new here, and I love to talk about all things Peloton, cycling, and fitness. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post every single Sunday, and today's video, I thought that it would be fun to just sit down and talk about how to get the best use out of your Peloton subscription, whether you already have one or you're considering getting one. I have like overall tips, and then I also have per exercise type tips. I feel like I've been on Peloton for almost 2 years now, and I've really tried everything. I don't do everything, but I do the majority of them, and I have tried everything. So I feel like I have some good tips to share with you guys, and maybe if you're on the fence about whether you think Peloton is right for you or not, I can sway you either way. The first big tip that I would give is to try everything and don't get just sucked into either cycling or tread. Since they sell that equipment, obviously there's like a bigger focus on those, but really a lot of their other classes that you don't need equipment for, like strength and yoga and bar, they're all really, really great classes. And then the other big tip that I would have with that is that you 100% do not need Peloton equipment to enjoy Peloton equipment classes. I have a Peloton bike because my boyfriend has one, but before that I used an Echelon X15, which I have many, many videos on for an entire year when I was living in San Francisco because I had ridden my boyfriend's Peloton, loved it so much, but it just wasn't in the price range for me at the time. So I bought a way cheaper bike and really got to enjoy everything that Peloton had to offer on a lower budget. Obviously, the Peloton bike is nicer, but really the Echelon bike was not bad, and I really enjoyed having that and having the opportunity to be able to ride when I was in my San Francisco apartment. Along with trying out all the different classes, I also think that you should mix it up. Obviously, it depends on the person, but personally for me, I get kind of bored if I'm doing the exact same thing every single day to work out, and then I find that very demotivating later on. So I like to mix things up. I do a lot of strength, a lot of cycling. I really think that cross training is very important for Peloton. Obviously, if you only have time to do one, only do one, but if you have time to work both in, I think you'll see like the most gains that way. But I also do yoga, I do bar, I do normal strength classes, I cycle, I run. I try to really do a lot of different things, and if I'm not in the mood for something, I don't try to push it, because speaking from past experience, if you try to push something, you're just going to end up more unhappy, and then it's like this cycle of just feeling like you're forced to work out when every day you want to wake up and like be like, I have the opportunity to work out, like this is great and I feel great afterwards. And yeah, I think that that's something to strive for. Obviously, some people like routine, so they like doing like the same thing every single day or 3 times a week. But if you find yourself getting bored, I highly recommend looking at all the other classes that Peloton has to offer, because they do offer such a diverse range that you can definitely find something else that you would like. Other motivational tips I have is join Peloton Facebook groups. I really love Hardcore on the Floor. They have their own Facebook group. I'll talk about them more when we get to strength, but they do a strength calendar, and I find that everybody posting in it is very like optimistic and motivational, in my opinion. Sometimes they're like, this was a really hard day, and I like that too. I like the acknowledgement that, you know, some days we're doing hard work, but I really like that Facebook group. Like, I'm on the Reddit and the normal Peloton Facebook group. People definitely talk about Peloton in a lot of different groups, but I find that motivational. I also like the challenges. They're pretty simple on Peloton. You have like a mileage challenge for cycling and for running, and then you can have a strength challenge for just like how many classes you do, and then also a challenge that's like how many times you did a workout throughout the month. So they're not that hard to hit if you're like exercising very regularly with Peloton like I am, but I just appreciate having them, you know, just one more thing that motivates me to get on the bike and kind of like acknowledges that I'm working hard. And then the final tip that I have for overall is to not overexert yourself, especially right at the beginning that I got the Peloton. I was cycling every single day, which, you know, is fine for maybe like a couple of weeks, but it's not a sustainable workout routine. And then it was like turning into something that I was dreading, which you just don't want. Going back to what I was saying before, like you want to wake up excited about exercising because it just stinks if you're dreading it. So definitely take rest days. I take 1 to 2 rest days a week, and I find that that like helps my body reset and then lets me go harder on the days that I do work out. So really it's finding the balance in you, but I would highly recommend not to work out 7 days a week, or like if you are to do something very, very low impact on the 7th day. So now that I've gotten general tips out of the way, I'm just going to go through all the different like exercise categories and kind of say my bit about them, other tips that I have. So the first category is strength, which I think it's kind of underrated because strength workouts are so important. Like when I was doing just cardio, and I did just cardio for probably my first year on the Peloton, just because before that I was not in a regular exercise routine. It was really like the only thing I could motivate myself to do. I did really like cycling, but I had lost weight, but I like wasn't toned at all, because you're not going to get toned just from cycling. You need to do strength classes. And I had really good like cardiovascular system. Like I could really pump it out on the Peloton. But besides that, it wasn't like I was feeling stronger or really that much more fit in real life. So that's kind of when I turned to strength. And for a while I was trying to tack on 10-minute strength classes at the end of my exercise. And also it's like, do what you can do. But this past October, I really committed to it and started doing the hardcore on the floor calendar. So there's a Facebook group. It is #hardcore on the floor. It should be fairly easy to find if you're in like the normal Peloton Facebook group. And there is a personal trainer, and her name is Nicole. And I don't know how Nicole makes these calendars because they are so well thought out. She releases a calendar at a time. So the March one is out now, and it has 2 days of arms, 2 days of legs, 2 days of full body, and 1 recovery day for the whole week, and that's every single week. And she stacks typically 40 minutes together. You always do 10 minutes of core and then like 30 minutes of other exercises, and they just flow together very well. They're all Peloton classes, and she'll pick like a certain thing to focus on that day, and like you can tell that the classes are focusing on that one aspect. So I really appreciate that calendar. That's pretty much whenever I'm doing strength, I just reference that calendar because I don't know that much about strength, and maybe one day in the future I could choose my own, but Nicole's doing such a great job, and then there's such a huge community around it that like you feel inspired to keep going. So I would highly recommend hardcore on the floor. I will say I don't do the calendar every day. I tried a week of doing it, and by the end of the week I was so exhausted. I guess you could kind of build up to it with strength, and like maybe if I try to do it now I could maintain it. But again, I don't want to like force myself to do strength and then feel like I am miserable doing it. So I mix in some full cardio days because, you know, I just can't let go of the full cardio. I really enjoy spinning. It's definitely my favorite. So any day that I can mix in some strength too is a good day. Along with that, there's some really great strength programs. There's the Total Strength program, which is by Andy Spears, which I haven't taken yet, but it does look good. I think it's for beginners, and it again is just like strength stacks. So if you want to do something that's more like official with Peloton, you could do that. And then I also highly recommend the Crush Your Core programs with Emma Lovewell. I've done both. There's 1 and 2. 2 just came out very recently. And essentially you have like 4 to 5 days a week for a couple weeks where Emma Lovewell walks you through core strength classes. And I feel like that really got my rear in gear when I did it, because before that I was like trying to do core every day, but then it's like so easy to skip. So that really forces you, if you like want to get the award for finishing the program, which of course I do, to really get on in there and commit to the core. And by the end of it, I really felt a difference because you're doing so much core over the course of like a month. You'll definitely see improvement. So I highly recommend these strength programs. And then my final thing is to not be afraid of taking like not normal strength classes. So like most of them are focused on like legs or full body or arms. But then there's also like bar, which is my personal favorite. I absolutely love bar. And there's also Pilates, there's resistance bands. There's kind of a lot of different fun, unique classes, which I would highly recommend to take because again, it just helps mix it up, helps keep things interesting. And I would never have guessed that I like bar as much as I do now. When I first started it, I really didn't like it, but now I absolutely love it. It's like one of my favorite exercises to do. So I feel like you should always keep an open mind. It's not super easy, but you know, these things grow on you. It takes time. So those are all of my tips for strength. And then the next exercise category is yoga. I absolutely love doing a 10-minute yoga flow before I get on the bike for a long cardio day. So for my workout, 10-minute yoga flow, then maybe like a 45 to 60-minute ride, and then I do a cool down and stretch and I'm done. And I really feel like the yoga flow just like wakes up my body, prepares me for the bike. I guess you could also probably do like a warm-up ride, but I don't really like warm-up rides. I like doing the yoga flow. I also feel like it like stretches me out. It just feels real good. So highly recommend, but I've also taken longer yoga classes and enjoy those too. Again, it was kind of the same thing with barre when I first took yoga. Wasn't the hugest fan of it, but now that I'm getting stronger, I definitely enjoy it more. So that's also another tip that's like, if you don't like it at first, don't be alarmed and like don't force yourself to do it, but maybe after a couple of months, if you've built more strength, you might enjoy it again. So just be open-minded, and even if you think you won't like something, it's good to try it every once in a while and like see if your opinions have changed. There's also a beginner yoga program on Peloton. I did a whole video on the beginner yoga program, but it was like almost 2 years ago at this point, and I think they've revamped it. But I did like it when I took it. I thought that it was very good for introductory yoga. At that point, I had never taken any yoga classes before, so it just helped you like learn the moves and like very basic flows, which I think really helped me going into yoga flow classes. I think you could get away not taking it, especially if you have yoga experience. But, you know, if you want to like do things right and like learn the basics, I think that it's a good program to take. So those are my tips for yoga. The next class category is cardio, which I will admit cardio is the probably like least favorite, or one that I take the least. Either that or the bike and tread boot camps. I'm just not huge on cardio. For me, I'd rather do like strength separately and then like do something that gets my heart rate up separately as well. So like do cycling or running and then do actual strength classes. I feel like cardio is a mix, which I know some people love. I like them separate, but I will say there's some fun cardio classes on there as well. There's like dancing, which is kind of like Zumba. My boyfriend and I have taken it before, and it's been a fun thing to do together. And then there's also boxing, which I'm not huge on Peloton boxing, but if it's your cup of tea, they have it there. And I also think the cardio is really great for travel because a lot of the classes are body weight. So like if you just want to get a good workout in and you're like doing it in a hotel room or in an Airbnb in Hawaii, it's a very effective workout with like no equipment. You don't have to go outside, like you can just be inside. So I would highly recommend like checking out some cardio classes, seeing what you like and dislike, because I think you could find classes, and even I could probably find cardio classes that I enjoy. It's just that I'm so caught up in everything else right now, but maybe in the future I will give them a bigger chance. The next class category is meditation, and I actually did a whole video on Peloton meditation where I tried all the different types, and it was over a week, and I was like, wow, this is so great. Like I love meditation. It like really helped me slow down and even just take like 10 minutes out of my day to shut down my brain and just kind of think and like reset. And then I never did it again. And that's completely on me. It just feels like I'm always so busy or there's something else that I want to do. But I really want to focus on trying to like get back into it. And I would highly recommend that you guys check it out. There is a Power of Sleep program, which is like sleep meditation. I'm not super huge on that because I need like background noise when I go to bed. Like I can't have someone talking to me, but I do know people that play like the sleep meditation to go to sleep, and they say that it's like super, super effective. And there's also a really good range of like guided and unguided classes. So you definitely have to like take it and see what you like the most. But for me, and I think probably the most beginners, I need guided meditation because if I have unguided, like my thoughts just wander like crazy. So it's nice that there is a range, so you can like start out with guided, or if you just want to stay unguided, or you can just go straight to unguided if you don't like someone talking to you while you meditate. So that's definitely something that I want to get back into, and I would highly recommend. And I feel like it's very underrated. I don't see a lot of people talk about the meditation, but I do think that they have some really great offerings. The next category that I have is running indoor, and and then also walking indoor. There are two different categories, but I'm just grouping them together because they're pretty much the same thing. This is what you would do on a Peloton tread if you have one. I unfortunately do not have a Peloton tread, but we have a normal tread here, and it is very, very easy to convert the classes. Like, it is so easy. It's easier than the Echelon bike conversion because the Peloton tread just tells you exactly like what speed and incline to go. So you don't need to convert anything. You can just follow along with the class. The only like bad negative is that it doesn't sync with your Peloton account. So like you're not going to know your mileage on the Peloton account, but I have an Apple Watch, so I can get all of that information. It's just saved to like my health app. So I don't find that to be a big deal at all. I will say I've never tried the Peloton tread, but it does look pretty cool, and I've heard like really good things about the Tread Plus in specific, but those are very, very expensive. Also, I did not know this until very recently. When I was in Hawaii, somebody commented that you can take indoor tread classes outside, and because I have an Apple Watch, it tracks my mileage and it like tracks my heart rate, all the normal stuff. But I thought that was super cool because I was worried if I took indoor classes outside that I would like not have the mileage on the Peloton app, which is dumb, but you know, sometimes I want to like go for those running goals. So it was cool that I could still calculate all of that. And then also on my watch, it had like a better UI than the actual outdoor runs, which we'll get to, but I could see like my pace, how much time was left, I think how far I'd gone. And like for outdoor runs, you can't see any of that. So I'm not sure exactly why it's like that, especially if you have an Apple Watch. The indoor classes really translate well to the outside. I can't speak to any other fitness watches. Like, I don't know what Peloton is doing, but for the Apple Watch, it is pretty good. And then I'm also a huge, huge fan of walk run indoor classes. They also have them for outdoor classes, but not as many. So for walk run, you just like walk half the time and you also run half the time. And as somebody that has an up and down relationship with running, definitely. I trained really hard last year and ran a half marathon in October. And now when I go out to run, I'm like dying at like mile 3. So I definitely need to get back into it. I think that they really help me on days when I want to run and I like want to up my mileage. And I don't think I can do that far yet. So if I wanted to do like a 60-minute run, that's pretty long, but like a 60-minute walk run will still get me to like up my mileage while not being that hard, because I also don't have like super great tips for training for half marathon. And this is slightly off topic, but like for a lot of my training to get to longer mileage when I'm running is to first walk it. So I would like run 6 miles and then afterwards I'd walk 5 miles. And then the next time I would try to run, 8 miles and then walk 3 miles and up it that way. And for me, I found that to be a very effective way to train. So I like that the walk runs basically combine that, where you're walking and you're running. But if you take a longer class, you can get your mileage up. So I highly recommend the walk runs. There's a ton on the indoor content and they're super fun, super great. And they're a super easy way to like kind of get into running longer distances. The next category is running outdoors, and pretty much the same thing as running indoors. I think they're great. I really love them. I like when an instructor like talks to me while I'm running outdoors. It keeps me motivated. Definitely a special shout out to Bex Gentry. She is my favorite. Lots of really great content. They also have some walk runs, but not as many as the indoor. And yeah, I just think that they're really great content. You really don't need any equipment. You can just walk outside and run. Would recommend a good pair of running shoes though. That is very important. I feel like I don't have a lot of tips for the outdoor runs, but I feel like they are also underrated. I don't see a lot of people talking about them, and I think that they're a really great way to work out, especially if you don't have any equipment, like no equipment required. The next category is cycling, which is obviously like the biggest thing that Peloton has. So I don't feel like I really need to sell you on the cycling. It's definitely my favorite. It really helped me jumpstart like my whole entire fitness journey. Just look at my channel, like literally every single video is pretty much about Peloton cycling, but I absolutely love the wide range of instructors and class types. I would highly, highly recommend getting into Power Zone training. If you're looking into like building up your strength and your cardiovascular system, I think they're great, but really, I love all of the instructors. It's such a fun time. Like Peloton knows what they're doing when they make these classes. Like they're very, very high quality. I think, in my opinion, they replace going to a studio. Every once in a while, I go to a like in-studio class with friends or my boyfriend, but really I almost prefer Peloton more because I'm so used to it now. Like I obviously feel like such a parasocial relationship with the instructors because I've taken them for so long now. Like I just know exactly what to expect. It's great. Highly would recommend. Love that it's low impact, like so much lower impact than other forms of cardio like running. And I just really, really enjoy the cycling. So highly recommend. You 100% do not need a Peloton bike. You can get a way cheaper bike and still enjoy the Peloton content just as much. I did for an entire year. It was totally fine. I would do it again. At the end of the day, I would just highly recommend like keeping an open mind and not trying to fall into one instructor. I definitely have instructors that I gravitate towards, but taking all the instructors definitely like keeps it interesting, keeps it fresh, and your opinion changes over time. I've already done 2 different rankings of the instructors and they switch around a lot over time. And even now, like and at the beginning, I just feel completely different about different instructors as you go through your fitness journey. So I'd highly recommend like never writing someone off and continuously taking different new classes because I think that keeps it very, very interesting and like keeps me motivated to keep on cycling. The next exercise category is stretching. And I think that stretching is so important. I was skipping it for a very long time because I just didn't want to add it into my workout. Like I just want my workout to be as efficient as possible. But really, especially when I started doing strength, if you're not stretching, you're going to feel so much worse the next day. I do a lot of like 5-minute post-ride stretches after I do a cool down. Cool down rides are also very, very important in my opinion. So I do a cool down ride and then I do a 5-minute stretch and I feel so much better and more prepared the next day, way less sore. I also really like the 10-minute full body stretch classes, specifically with Ben Aldis because he's my fave. I feel like if you feel tight anywhere, like that is the class to do. You will hit everything. You feel so, so good after it. The 10-minute class is totally worth taking. And besides that, they have like post certain exercise stretches. So they'll have like post ride, post run. And then they also have stretches that just focus on different parts of your body. So like an upper body stretch, a lower body stretch. They really have a lot of different stretching content. For me, I just find the ones that I like and then I keep retaking those. I know I said I should try new things, but I feel like for stretching, I just know what I like, know that it's effective for me, and I can just keep taking the same classes and I always feel good at the end. I also like stretching with someone because when I stretch with myself, I definitely don't hold it as long. Like I hold it for like 15 seconds and I'm like, all right, we can go to the next one. But when I'm stretching with the instructor, they really like make you hold it for a long time, which obviously is more effective. So I would highly, highly recommend stretches for everybody, beginner or advanced Peloton user. Highly, highly recommend. And then the final category is the tread boot camp. And then I'm also grouping it with bike boot camp just because I don't take both that often. I have done 2 videos on them. And I do think that they're a pretty good replacement for Barry's boot camp, which is like a studio gym that offers like basically the same thing. It's on a treadmill. And I think if you're like looking for that replacement, like sure, it is good. And I don't have an issue with like the instructors or anything, but it's basically the same thing as the cardio classes. I'd rather do cardio and strength separately. So I'd rather just have like a really good strength workout and then get on the bike and do cycling or go out for a run. But I do acknowledge it's different for everyone. So if you really like the Barry's boot camp kind of format or like HIIT format, I would highly recommend these. Like they're really great classes and I think they're comparable to like studio classes. But again, maybe I'll come back to them in the future because it is good to mix it up, keep it interesting. And like there's nothing I inherently dislike about those classes. They're just not something that I personally gravitate towards. But those were all of the different exercise types that the Peloton subscription offers. I think that it is a great deal. It completely replaces my need for like a gym or to go to studio classes. So it's way cheaper per month to have a Peloton subscription where I get all this amazing content compared to like going to a gym or going to studio classes. So I hope that helped you if you are on the fence about whether to get a Peloton subscription or if you have one and you want to get more use out of it. Feel free to leave any comments down below with like tips or suggestions that I didn't say. I'm sure I'm not remembering everything, but I did try to write down like everything I could think of all of the different class types and all of my tips. I hope you guys are staying safe, having an awesome week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!